Welcome everybody. This is Charlie Sell from the Arrows Group. This is our podcast, Future Tech podcast series, aimed at graduates who are leaving university and us interviewing thought leaders, CTOs, directors, partners within technology businesses, asking them to give a bit about their story, their thoughts on emerging technologies, and what the future landscape of technology looks like. Hopefully for you guys all studying STEM-based degrees, it will be quite a useful series along with a wider audience, so we hope it's useful. I'm really pleased to have Gio Tricomi with me, an associate partner at Reply Group, one of a global consultancy started in Italy 20 years ago, specializing in e-commerce, Internet of Things, machine learning. So probably one of the market leaders within tech. Welcome Gio, and thank you for giving your time.
Well, thank you very much. Good morning, Charlie. Hope you're doing well.
Yeah, very well, thank you. Very well. So let's get straight into it. You've had quite a varied career, and then from getting to know you. So do you want to give us a bit of a history of how you've become an associate partner?
Oh, well. There was a long journey. Probably it's easy to start from the very beginning. The first time I worked on my Hello World program in the high school. I remember we went into this big room, a lot of computers. I was probably 13, and there was the teacher that they said, "Okay, today we're going to learn computers," and we started. That was the time of black screens and green lines, and so we started coding, and at the end we prompt a message, "Hello World." And I remember I look at the screen and I say, okay, fine, we spent almost 45 minutes to write "Hello World." I'm pretty sure that things should be faster with computers, and that is where I kind of thought that probably computer science would have been my journey. I finished high school, I went to the university, computer science engineer, and I started touching base with all the different languages, Pascal, C++, C, Java. And at one point, while I was doing programming at the university, I realized that, I do want to do something more. And that something more had a name at that time. That was artificial intelligence and machine learning. So I started studying artificial intelligence for the last 2 years at the university. All the topics were around machine learning. And I really looked into the thing so deeply to realize after a few years that was absolutely wrong. And it was wrong just because that was the beginning of artificial intelligence. And the way we were thinking of artificial intelligence was very much coming from the theory and the language and how people are talking, so the natural language. While the technology wasn't there, and still were missing a lot of tools, instruments, and knowledge in order to go ahead down that route. So that's to say that, I mean, my passion at one point bumped into the reality that we couldn't achieve the results we wanted with machine learning and artificial intelligence. But having said that, I mean, since I finished, I moved onto organizations that focus on different things. A bit of consultancy, a bit of service implementation. I remember more than 10 years ago, there was the boom of the mobile economy, which means that everybody had a mobile and everybody was buying contents through the mobile. And I was working for a company, I was building platforms to deliver contents over the mobiles with millions of subscriptions, millions of transactions every day. People just buying wallpapers and ringtones. Many of the graduates today, they can't imagine how crazy it was and how important it was to download a wallpaper to put as a background of your phone. And you had to pay for that. So it was a very big chunk of industry. And yeah, so I did that. I traveled a little bit, which was one of the things that I really wanted to do the most. So I spent times in different countries, US, Mexico, a little bit of Brazil. And then after a while, I joined Reply. It was probably 6 or 7 years ago now.
Fantastic.
And I realized how strong a company like Reply can be, because it's a consulting firm that is working on technology, and really we touch base all the possible technologies. You mentioned a few of them. You mentioned e-commerce, which is the specialization of my team in Reply, my company in Reply, but also big data, blockchains, cloud and edge computing. These are all the type of technologies that Reply is mastering, and these are the technologies where we do support our customers in order to achieve goals. So that's a little bit of my story. Then in Reply, I started like developing an e-commerce channel, and by the way it happened that I became an associate partner, and now my main focus is to make sure that the team I lead can develop top quality customer experience solutions for our customers.
Fantastic. And well, you're right. You know, e-commerce being I still think probably one of the most robust sectors, and where the hell of a lot of investments going to be going. You know, we try not to talk about COVID too much, but if we think about the future, e-commerce is absolutely where companies, all companies, I think, should be investing in the platform and user experience, knowing that that's how, you know, the next generation use interfaces.
Yeah, you're right. There's been an acceleration. Obviously, you say we don't want to talk about COVID, but COVID is kind of giving a second opportunity to many organizations really who did not onboard quickly on the digital journey. So now they are forced to do that in order to survive, in a sense. And onboarding the digital journey on the digital journey means that they really need to understand how important it is to engage with their customers. And the commerce is one of the channels they use to engage with the customers. So creating seamless experiences where you have multi touch points, multi digital touch points, and you can talk, and you can sell, promote, upsell, and obviously giving the opportunity to who today is not able to leave their house to buy your products or to get in touch with you in a way. So yes, there's a big boom. We always tell to some of the organizations, you had a chance a few years ago to start your digital journey. You missed that chance. Now there's one more chance. Make sure that you don't miss it, because it might be the last one for you.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. So thinking about your career then, and something people are always quite interested in is lessons learned. You know, we've both been in the industry now for quite a while. So, you know, is there anything that you've learned that you think is a valuable lesson, or help define, you know, how you've structured your career?
Yeah, well, there are a few things. Usually, gurus of technology, they always say, do what you really want to do and put all your best effort. That is true. I learned this as a lesson myself, but I also learned that sometimes putting a lot of effort, it doesn't help you to achieve the results that you want. And that's because maybe you're putting the effort in the wrong place. So I think that spending some time in understanding what's the type of company you want to work with, trying to understand what are the real objectives in your career is the most important thing before you focus on doing that. The technology is very important, but the technology is not everything, because technology changes, and especially in the last few years, 5 years, let's say, all technologies tend to become old in a matter of a couple of years.
Yeah.
So if you stick to one technology and you say that you want only to focus on that, then you'll miss opportunities. So the lesson learned is always keep up to date, always understand how things are changing, and always understand if there are alternatives that would be very good for you, for your growth and for your career. I mean, I started myself as a developer, and then I was a tech lead, and then I was an architect, and I was designing the solution, and then probably I made the mistake of jumping on the dark side, as I said, which was the management and project management, and I lost that touch with the technology. But I think that what I did over my career was always to update myself, understanding what were the trends, and trying to get the best out of these emerging technologies and trends at any point of time.
Yeah, yeah, I couldn't agree with you more actually, because a lot that we see in the market, this rising phenomenon about polyglot engineering, the next generation of developers who should be developing across a full stack array of languages rather than being a specialist. I think 10 years ago, if you were studying Microsoft.NET, for example, and wanted to be a .NET developer, your career was defined by that. Whereas I think what we've seen now is actually being that multi-skilled, being able to do a bit of front end, back end, understanding the full stack. That for me, I feel is one of the emerging skill sets. And when we're talking at graduate level, that breadth of experience and staying really relevant. Did you have
Yeah,
any thoughts on that?
no, you're absolutely right. I mean, even we do hire graduates, we do hire specialists in technology to develop solutions. And we recently noticed that people who are very highly skilled on a specific technology, sometimes they tend not to have the mindset required in order to work on other emerging technologies. So yes, you will be able to master something, but if that something changes, if that something is no longer the technology everybody wants, then you're kind of lost and you need to reinvent yourself. So the role of the full stack developer today is very much important, especially when you look into the microservice and these technologies where we are always moving far from the core, which is probably languages like Java or C, and we are going into more like end user type of languages, programming languages. So you need to understand the stack from the top to the bottom in order to be really effective.
Yeah, yeah. As I said, I couldn't agree with you more. So, have you got a view on emerging technologies, or what you think, over the next 5 to 10 years is going to be the changing landscape within technology?
Yeah, this is the time where we go by buzzwords, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, and you really make a list of all the things. I mean, to me, and that is very personal. Now, obviously, the cloud and edge computing, it's very, uh, it's moving very fast. And again, COVID, it's pushing organizations to move into cloud and to adopt cloud technologies even more, which is great. And that will accelerate the growth of this technology. But my heart is always like with the artificial intelligence and the machine learning. And I really think that will be the technology underpinning anything else. And when I say underpinning, is because I like talking about like Internet of Things and connected cars or wearables. The point is you have a variety of devices and sensors who can collect data. At one point, these elements will have to exchange information among each other, but exchanging information with the purpose of taking decisions.
Yeah.
So there should be a layer of artificial intelligence that will help to take decisions, which are no longer the decision of a single entity, but are decisions of a community of objects. I'll give you an example that to me is fascinating. Assuming you are driving your car and there is an obstacle in front of you, and supposedly it is a smart car, the car will stop. And will stop it because there is an obstacle. But that decision itself, yeah, might save your life, or actually might save your car, but that decision is not important if it's not shared real time with other cars that might be coming on you. And it needs to communicate with these other cars. So there needs to be an intelligent way to communicate to the other cars that everybody needs to stop or decrease the speeds because there is an obstacle like a mile ahead. And also like controlling the traffic for 3, 4, 5 miles before the obstacle to make sure that you don't create a traffic jam. So that's just an example. And to me, it means that now that we have devices, a car is a device that can collect data and take decisions for itself. It is the time to make sure that all these decisions are shared among a network of devices, and then somehow they can collectively take a decision for the benefit of all of them.
Yeah.
So that is where I see the technology kind of going. So pushing intelligence, artificial intelligence, into what we do on a daily basis into our life, so that we can be supported in in taking the right level of decisions, but also we can save time. I mean, I'll be absolutely pleased if my house was very smart and saved me the time for maintenance or controlling how things are going.
Yeah.
I mean, so that is definitely what I think that somehow the industries will move. And trust me, the artificial intelligence can apply to any sector of the industries and the like. And with the artificial intelligence, we spoke about connected car. It means sensors, it means industry 2.0 or 3.0 or whatever it is. We talk about big data. So that is where I think we will invest a lot in the future and we'll get benefits. And if you ask me, okay, but what is going to happen in the next 10 years? 10 years from now, wow. I think there will be changes, but I don't think there will be major changes. So we will progress and we will use technology always more and more, but nothing disruptive will happen to us. One thing that happened to me, it was a couple of weeks ago, I watched a movie called Ready Player One. It's a very new movie, and it talks about the 2030 or something like that. There is this society that spends most of their time on a virtual reality. So there's a parallel world where people just get connected and they spend most of the time there. They do things. They do play, they meet each other, they run competitions. And it's really, the balance is 20-80, 20% of their time in the real world to sleep, eat, and 80% of the time in the virtual world.
Oh, wow.
So I recommend that, especially if for young kids or anyhow for teenagers. It's a very interesting movie. And the point is, I think that yes, virtual reality will develop and will be part of our normal way of living. So there will be many things that we will do with augmented reality and virtual reality. I don't think to the point that we will forget about the real life and we'll dive into an unreal one. But I think that we'll be more used to build something that doesn't exist physically around us, to check, to control, to measure. Also thinking that my shopping experience in 10 years' time will be very much run from home, but not through a computer and a website, but rather through an augmented type of reality when I can try my new clothes before I buy them, and without being in the physical store. Yeah,
really interesting. I couldn't agree with you more that the world won't go flip on its head, but artificial intelligence being able to live more within options and how technology will enable, whether it is connected homes or whether it is automation, AI, it's fascinating and exciting at the same time, I guess. So I think things are being accelerated now, aren't they? I remember speaking to someone the other day who talked about big data and AI as are linked. Essentially, the more data you have, the better your AI is going to be.
Yes, you're right. And that's the reason why I say the AI is really underpinning all the other technologies, because having data doesn't help anybody unless you are able to analyze your data and take decisions. And so to analyze this huge amount of data, you need to have mechanism can do that quite quickly and can take decisions and learn from their decisions. So the machine learning, artificial intelligence are doing this.
Yeah.
The same for the Internet of Things. Yeah, fantastic. You have your devices connected, and then what happens now that they are connected? If they cannot leverage on the connection and taking decisions, again, it becomes a bit useless. So it's another area where the artificial intelligence is really linking all these dots and making sure that the society that takes the benefits out of this technology. I also believe that the technology will be, and that is in a sense a result of today's conversations about green and environmental issues. I think that a lot of technology will be spent in order to make our world greener, in a sense. And that's because organizations are taking now these, and I hope it's not just a buzzword for them these years, but are taking this seriously. So everybody wants to be greener. Everybody wants to show and demonstrate that actually they contribute to the environment rather than consuming the resources of the environment. And I think that everybody will start using technology in order to be better from that point of view, and to pay their contribution to our environment. So yeah, and I also believe, I mean, if I ask myself, what would I do if I were a student today and I was going back to the university? Where did I put my effort and the topics? Probably I'll do the same mistakes. So I will again spend 2 years of my life studying artificial intelligence and machine learning, because I do believe that today it's definitely not a mistake, and it will help me to accelerate probably some of the aspects of my career.
Yeah, fantastic. Oh, look, Gio, thank you. Really, really interesting, and it's always great to get different viewpoints. And as I said, I think the summary there, thinking about artificial intelligence underpinning, the future technology, I couldn't agree with more. And that connectivity, something I think we're all quite passionate about, because Internet of Things is absolutely just the future, I guess. So, well, that's the podcast for us for this episode. So again, Gio, thank you very much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Charlie. It was really my pleasure.
Yeah, brilliant. And so for now, guys, as we said, I hope that was of interest, and look forward to putting this on social media. It'll be on YouTube, our YouTube channel, obviously distributed through the universities, and on LinkedIn. So yeah, thank you, Gio.
Great. Thank you. Have a nice day.